Hi, this is Phil Hinton and welcome to part 2 of our video on HDMI cables. I continued my discussion with Jeff and asked him what advice he could give consumers when looking to buy a suitable HDMI cable.
Well, what we do is we actually take these scores. We actually score each process. So the 4 processes we just talked about, we actually put a score on them. And some companies will score better on one thing than another. But we have a very complex software program that takes all these scores and trunks them and weighs them. They get weighed for consistency. We always check 5 products from one SKU. That way there we have a general idea of what they all do. And we check them for consistency. So some cable could do extremely well in video, but we may find that another 2 or 3 cables do very, very poorly. This happens a lot. And so that will weigh against them. So the software program allows us to weigh all the factors together and all of them in consistency. In the end, it comes up with a score, a common score, or a DPL ranking score. And the higher that number is, which could be anything from 1, which is HDMI minimums, to the absolute best you can get, which is a number 5. And the number 5 basically gives you perfect video, perfect I2C, which is the serial interface, and all the voltage and the timing errors.
So how many companies have actually come on board with you to go through this testing?
We've got actually now a dozen firms that have actually come on board. They've gone through process, and many of those firms are taking their engineering reports. Every single company gets an engineering report for each SKU that they bring in. And they can use that engineering report to market with. They can use it to correct an issue that maybe it went through test and it didn't do too well, and they go back and have it corrected. The nice thing about it is that they now have something tangible that they can bring back to their vendor where they purchased the product from and show them, look at, this has got to be fixed. This is the area right here. And we're already seeing those now coming back, where the vendor first brought the first product in. It didn't do so well. We gave them their engineering report, we consulted with them, then they sent the product back, and they're coming back again, and they're coming back really good. So the members have been very proactive in getting everything fixed up. So it's been a real healthy environment. Plus the members are very competitive. So every member is trying to outwhack the other member, which is great because the end consumer is the person that wins. So it's all good.
So I guess a simple way of looking at your scoring system is that it's a standards system.
Yes.
So a consumer looking at that product can see 2 or 3 of these companies that work with you and can actually base their purchase on what they see?
That's exactly right. They can actually go on the website and they can look at what the scores are of these individual companies, and they can shop by their performance level, not by whether they're pricey or whether they look so pretty. If they want it to work, they can shop by what its actual performance is.
And there's some really expensive equipment behind you there.
Yeah.
You were saying it's about $250,000 dollars worth of equipment there.
That's right.
This is objective data that you actually receive from this equipment, isn't it? So there's no speculative or subjective data at all. Everything's measured properly.
No, there's no guesswork here. It's this particular equipment. This is Tektronix. It's the best equipment in the world, and it's extremely stable. It always gives us the same results. The beautiful thing about great test equipment like this and the procedure like this is it's repeatable. So if a manufacturer were to contest another manufacturer's ratings, we could very easily repeat the test to within a very fraction of a percent. And that's what you pay for this kind of equipment. But it's the best in the world, and it gives us the necessary dynamics for us to get the kind of scores so that we can individually test each product and give them a proper rate.
So I guess in summing up, Jeff, what we can say for certain with HDMI cables is that consumers should really be looking for a cable that's well built, well engineered, and that will have a high enough bandwidth to deal with what that consumer wants the cable to do.
That's true. I mean, if the consumer is looking for a product that, of course mechanically we want it to hold intact. We clearly want it to have the integrity to give them the signal content that they're looking for. And they also, if they're DPL rated, they want to look for the highest DPL number they could possibly get. And you'll be surprised. You may find some numbers there that are high that really aren't that expensive at all. But that's true. And the frequency response is extremely expensive, extremely important, because now whether under 1.3, which is the latest rev for HDMI, there are 2 cable categories. And a lot of people get misled on that because the category 1 or standard category is only good for 1080i or 74 megahertz, whereas the category 2 or high-speed data product is designed around speeds or frequency response ranges going all the way out to 340 megahertz for 1080p. So the 1080p 8-bit, 10-bit, 12-bit, and 16-bit functions are only available in category 2 products. So that's very important that when you purchase these cables, you ask and make sure you know, what are they? Are they high-speed products or are they standards? It could make or break the system.
So although there are a lot of theories online on these forums, like AV forums and other communities, and we see magazines who review these cables and say that they can see difference in the pictures and so on.
Yeah.
I guess what we're saying is that a good cable video will more or less always be right, and what they really should be looking at is the engineering and the construction of the cable. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I've heard people say that there's been some differences in the way the picture looks, and I might debate that, but when it gets down to the bottom line, I'm just happy it's working. The big deal has been the reliability. That's been the major function. If you ask anybody about how it looks when it's working, they're usually pretty happy. They just got to make sure it works. That's the key.